Hi dragonflies and butterflies. Today in maths we are going to be learning to recall different units of time. So this is a remembering lesson. By the end of the lesson I want you to be able to recall, so that means tell me or tell an adult at home or a brother or a sister how many seconds are in 1 minute. I also want you to be able to tell me or recall how many minutes are in 1 hour. And you will be able to demonstrate a sense of different lengths of time. I will go through what that means in a moment. Okay, for success criteria 1, I would like you to recall, be able to know and remember how many seconds are in 1 minute. So this is a clock. You might have one of these in your house. And this is the second hand. So this is what measures seconds. Okay, so for now, I want you to ignore these markings. Now, 1 minute is the time that it takes for the second hand to go from here at the top, number 12, to go all the way around the clock and come back up to number 12. So 1 minute is the time it takes for this hand to go from here all the way round and back up to here. So if you have one of these clocks in your house, I want you to wait until this hand gets to 12, and I want you to count every time it moves, because that will be, every time it moves will be 1 second. I want you to count the seconds going round the clock until it gets back up to 12. If you do not have a clock in your house, there is a link to a video on YouTube that shows a second hand moving around the clock, and it will start at 12. So get ready, and as soon as it starts moving, you need to be counting every time it moves. Pause the video now and do this. Did you count the seconds? If you did, and if you were very careful, you will have counted 60 seconds. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute. That means it took 60 times for it to move all the way from here back up to the top again. Every time it moved was 1 second, and it moved 60 times to get back up to here again. If you didn't quite count 60 seconds, pause the video again and have another go. If you're not sure what you're doing wrong, see if an adult in your house can have a look at what you're doing, and maybe they can help you. So what can you do in 1 minute or 60 seconds? 1 minute and 60 seconds are the same thing. What can you do in that time? Pause the video and write down some ideas of things you might be able to do in 1 minute. Now that you've counted the seconds around a clock, 60 seconds, that is equal to 1 minute, and you've thought of different things that you can do in 1 minute, what I want you to do now is estimate 1 minute. So I want you to ask a parent to get a timer out, and I want you to put your head on the table, and I want you to guess when 1 minute has passed. When you think it's been a minute, put your head up and your parent will stop the timer. I want you to see how close you were to 1 minute. Don't forget to write it down in your book so that you can tell your teacher. So, how many seconds are in 1 minute? There's another way of working this out. If you can see these little markings around the clock, it's basically the same as a number line, except it's in a circle. So we start here at 12, and as you can see, as we counted before, the seconds that are in a minute going all the way round and back up to 12. So if we count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each time you get to one of these big numbers, 5 seconds has passed. So let's count on another 5 seconds. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm now at another big number, and I'm at 10 seconds. Let's count on again. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm at another big number, I'm at 15. So every time you get to a big number here, and 5 minutes has gone past. So we could count in fives all the way round to 12. Let's count 5 seconds as we point to each of the numbers. You can do this with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So did you see by counting in fives, I got 60 seconds when I got back to the top. So in 1 minute, going all the way around the clock, there are 60 seconds. It doesn't matter if I count each individual second or if I count up in fives. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute. I want you to pause the video now and I want you to go rounds starting from here, counting in fives as you go rounds, coming all the way back up to 12. So just like I did, starting from here and going 5, 10, 15 and so on. Pause the video and do that. See if you get to 60 seconds by the time you get back up to the top. So we've achieved success criteria 1 so far. We know how many seconds are in 1 minute. Shout it out now. That's right, it's 60. 60 seconds are in 1 minute. So now we need to look at success criteria 2, knowing how many minutes are in 1 hour. Let's have a look. Earlier, you counted the second hand all around the clock to find out how many seconds there were in a minute. Now, if there were a second hand on this clock, it would look something like this. It tends to be thinner than the other hands. And this would be measuring the seconds going all the way around the clock back up to here. Okay? If I take away the second hand for a moment, because now we're looking at minutes. This is the minute hand. Our minute hand is going to measure how many minutes there are in 1 hour. 1 hour is the time taken for the minute hand to go all the way round the clock and come back up to the top. So let's say that again. 1 minute is how much time it takes for the second hand, this hand, to go all the way around the clock and back up to the top. 1 hour is the time it takes for the minute hand, this hand, to go starting from here, going all the way around the clock and back up to the top. So let's have a look how many minutes there are in 1 hour. If it needs to go all the way around the clock again to get back to be 1 hour, how many minutes do you think are in 1 hour? Let's count them out. So if each of these lines here are 1 minute, and this is measuring minutes, then we can count in fives again to see how many minutes there are in an hour. Let's have a go. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Now it's exactly the same as seconds because the same clock, it's almost the same number line that is measuring two things. It's measuring the seconds. So the second hand will be measuring the seconds, and each of these lines represents 1. And it's also measuring minutes. So each of these lines represents 1. So the second hand will be counting how many seconds there are that are going around. And this will be measuring how many minutes there are that are going around. So there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, and there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So now we also have been able to do success criteria 2. We know how many minutes there are in 1 hour. So success criteria 1, how many seconds are there in 1 minute? Can you remember? That's right, it's 60. And success criteria 2, how many minutes are there in 1 hour? That's right, it's also 60. And that's because it's using the same scale going around. There are 60 of these lines, counting up the seconds and the minutes. So what is 1 hour? What does 1 hour feel like? List some things that you think you could do in 1 hour. So now we've achieved success criteria 1 and 2, we need to have a look at success criteria 3. We need to demonstrate a sense of different lengths of time. So what that means is having an understanding of how long things take and the difference between seconds, minutes and hours and how long that feels like. So on your timetable for today are 2 tasks that we would like you to complete. The first one looks like this. I would like you to have a think about what things would take this amount of time. So what sort of thing could you do that would take 3 seconds? And you'd write that in here. Then I want you to think about what sort of thing could you do that would take 1 minute? And you would write that in here. Then what could you do that would take 15 minutes? And you would write that in here, and so on. Task 2 looks like this. Now this you will have to do throughout the day. You won't be able to do it all in one go because there are different activities that you will need to complete throughout the rest of the day. Now when you're doing these activities, which they're said in this column down here, you will need to, first of all, estimate. That means take a sensible guess at how long you think that would take you to do. Then you need to ask a parent to time you doing it. And then I want you to write in the actual time it took you to do that. That way you can see, was your thought about how long it would take close to the actual time it took, or was it very, very different? What is your sense of time like? So for example, if you were going to run a length of your garden, you would have to estimate how long that would take to do that. So I might, looking at the size of my garden, I might say that would take me 20 seconds to run if I was running rather than walking, to go to the end of my garden. About 20 seconds. I would estimate that here. Then I would time myself and find out how long it actually took me to run the length of my garden. I'm going to do this later today and I'll tell you whether I was right or wrong. Then you'd go down and have a look at the others as well. So you will need to spread these out because eating your lunch, you'll need to remember when you're eating your lunch that you've got to estimate it first and then get somebody to time you so you can fill in this column. Once you've finished those tasks, make sure you ask a parent or carer to email that to your teacher. Well done, dragonflies and butterflies. We can't wait to see your wonderful work.